mind that I wanted to sleep outside for so long, and I feel such a strong pull into nature ever since I started with yoga. Also before, but it grew after that. And especially when you live in the city and you're involved in all this, artificial lifestyle, which has a lot of comfort and convenience, but also it is artificial. It is not really aligned with our nature, and so in many ways we are very, very disconnected most of the time from our nature, and I think that has its impact on us, and especially on our thought process, and probably also on deeper levels. So reconnecting with nature, I feel, is so powerful. You can hear the bells of the cows in the background. So I was sleeping here last night. I had my little campfire and I was reading a book about Stoicism, which is very interesting, by the way. The works of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca and others. Because while they were all very successful people and have reached so much in terms of the outer material life, they all kind of lived a life that had very many simplistic, minimalistic elements to it, because they saw the power of it. So Stoicism, something that I want to talk about a little more at some point. Right now I just want to share one thing with you, and this is related to coming out to nature, but it's much more than that. Our biology, our human brain especially, has been evolved over many thousands of and millions of years actually. And right now the situation that we live in is actually very different from the time that we lived in during all of these thousands of years when our brains evolved. So many things that our brains does to us and the kind of emotional reactions that we live through, they actually are not the most suitable for our today's lives. And the question is, what can we do to live better and to control our emotions better? Because, for example, let's say you're worried about money, you're worried about your job, you're worried about your career, or even just something like giving a presentation, talking to someone on the street. You might know this experience where you feel like, you're getting super nervous when you speak to someone, or when you're worried about your job, your money, you get like cold sweat and maybe even like some panic sometimes. And this kind of emotional reaction really is the kind of fight and flight mechanism that we've built when in a time where we actually where our life was threatened. So we would actually need this response, which would be useful because our life depended literally on it. Like, we could die if we didn't run away or something. And today, really look at it logically. Like, what's the chance of you actually starving today? I mean, unfortunately, there are still many people who are, living in very inhuman conditions. But if you watch this video, I'm confident that most likely, starving is not really an option. You will probably always find a way to at least get your food and to be able to survive. So at the same time, the emotional responses that we live through in our day-to-day lives are actually those that are, connected to this threat of starving and of dying. And oftentimes they direct our lives, they direct our decisions, they direct the way we communicate, the way we live our lives, the way we plan our lives, the way we act on our plans. And so in many ways, these kind of emotional dramas, they hold us back so much, and if we let them, if we allow them, and if we're not careful, they're gonna dictate our lives and they will hold us down so much. So to break through, well, one thing definitely, you need to do yoga and meditation, because you will be able to be more in charge of all of that. But there's also something interesting you can learn from Stoicism. And they always had a practice of trying to get emotional detachment. Now that means not necessarily that you're not able to live through like positive emotions, or that you live through any kind of emotions, you know. You can still live through them and experience them, feel them, and of course you can enjoy the positive sides. But when it comes to this intense negative side of emotions like fear, they used to practice this detachment. And you can do this by logically looking at it, by logically trying to step back when you realize. So last night, for example, I was living in this tent and I heard weird noises outside. Some kind of animals were there. And in that moment, actually, it could have been like a live or die situation. Because I'm in nature, there's no one anywhere nearby except these cows. Last night, like, my car is like 1,000 meters down there, so no one there. If there was a wild animal trying to kill me, I might have to fight with my knife, and this is like literally live or die. But I'm in Switzerland, there's not really wild animals. So initially I got this, you know, my heart rate came up, I was like super nervous. And then I was still and listening. And I felt it. And it was funny because in that moment I was reading that book talking about emotional detachment. I thought, wow, what a great practice now. So then I thought, okay, instead of just giving in to the emotions and letting it take over, I thought, okay, what's gonna happen here? What are the options? Worst case, there's a wild animal. I have my knife here. I have a good chance of fighting it. And I came out here, you know, I really wanted to be in nature. And I thought, I'm just gonna live out, I'm just gonna sleep out here, and whatever happens, it's fine, because even if I'm gonna die, I mean, what better place is there to die than in a place like this? And the chances of something like this happening are so small. So the other thing is, like, I realized there are no really wild animals here. The chances of some wild animal here is so minimal. So it could have only been like maybe a fox or whatever. Nothing really life-threatening. So the moment I kept thinking about it, stepping back, observing my emotions, it really allowed me to calm down. And this is a practice I can recommend to you in your day-to-day life. Especially for negative emotions, try to step back, try to look at it and ask yourself, what's happening here right now? What am I missing right now? What information am I missing? And is this emotional response that I'm going through right now, is it really justified, or is this just my million-year-old brain going through like a routine that it had built in a time when I had actually fight bears and wolves and whatever. And it can be very powerful, because in your day-to-day life there's so many small things that where fear is holding you back, or other negative emotions where you let anger take over because you can't see how it's taking charge and it's kind of switching off your brain. So if you're able to look through it, you can get so much control. And also, guys, go into nature. It is so powerful. I'm gonna speak about it again more, but for now this is it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys. Make sure you hit the likes button. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments and I give you a video on it. I wish you a wonderful week. See you next time. Bye, guys.